zone.
See, now that's something that makes sense to debate about, right? What if I told you we're going to debate about Bo Nix and CJ Stroud? If I told you that 3 months ago, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But you look at it right now, Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback. CJ Stroud's, hovering in that mid QB2 range.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta really eat some crow on Bo Nix. I'm gonna be honest because I didn't foresee the rushing upside that he's demonstrated so far. I mean, he's getting 10 carries a game. He's averaging like 50 plus rush yards a game. He had 75 this week. Didn't end up with any touchdowns, but I mean, they blew the Saints out of the water. Or not the Saints, the Panthers.
They played the Saints the week before.
Yes, also blew them out of the water.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing this. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I feel like the reverse because I was all in on
right.
And yeah, the stats are great.
Yeah.
But to me, when I watch him, it's like the plays that are being designed for him are awesome, and he's just still making big mistakes.
Right.
But in the end, the stats are there. But
yeah, this could be the case of where we were, probably in the same exact boat, 3 years ago on Justin Fields,
right.
where I was saying, I don't care how it looks. He's giving me 30 points of fantasy every week.
Yeah.
The issue is, you fast forward 3 years and look where we're at now on that take. It's pretty clear you're right about Justin Fields, and he ran out of time. His leash ran out because he never developed past that. So with a guy like Bo, I think that's what you have to be hoping for is the mistakes dwindle week to week.
Yeah.
I will say this: it's not like Sean Payton's not asking a lot of him. Like Sean Payton obviously has always had very sophisticated offenses. I think everybody's thought that, and he's always been heralded as a great offensive mind. And we saw what he did with Drew Brees. Obviously, Brees was no slouch. He was a very early draft pick himself. Showed some stuff on the Chargers before he went to the Saints. But for the weapons he has, and what I thought about guys like Javonte Williams and Troy Franklin coming into the season was very minuscule. It was all the Denver offense essentially, besides for Cortland Sutton. I was just like, I don't think they're talented.
Yeah.
And they've at least showed way more than I thought. Whereas CJ Stroud was somebody I came into the year on where it was, oh my God, this entire team is oozing with talent.
Yeah.
And right now it's like, okay, Joe Mixon is oozing with talent. and that's what's going on is Joe Mixon is carrying that offense.
Yeah, I think a lot of people slept on him because people I don't know, the big Mel Kiper guys talking about draft day, Bo Nix is he's a bum
right.
And I still think it would have been probably better to just have him sit behind somebody for a year, but honestly, who are you going to sit behind him this year in the Broncos? I think statistically he's doing fine, but it's the eye test thing, and I don't really like, but good for him. He's an Oregon quarterback. They were really good in college. Everything makes sense for him to be good, and I just hope he can just keep it up and get better, but guess we'll see.
So what about Stroud? Has Stroud passed your guys' eye test this year? I think he's struggling personally.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a problem with the offense, and I never really thought Stroud was over the top great. I thought the offensive schemes and all the plays were just there.
Slow.
Dude, yeah. Nico Collins I think this year is just proven that he's even better than Diggs.
Yeah, that guy's a baller.
Yeah.
He's unreal.
And so all these plays that are are supposed to be working, you got Robert Woods running these routes, and I don't know, maybe
it's not the same.
Yeah, and also I think there's a problem when you got too many mouths to feed.
Yeah.
And you got Diggs. I really hate Diggs. I just hate him, dude.
He definitely brings the vibes down.
Yeah, I feel like his talent brings his Madden overall up for the whole team. But then when their chemistry is just dog water,
I feel that.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that video? They asked everybody at the Vikings. They asked them who they didn't want to date their sister.
Yeah, and literally every player, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think we talked about this on one of our videos, but he is painfully aware of who he was, or who he is.
Yeah.
After he got into that scrap with the Packers the other week, he said, I will never be the bigger person. I ain't letting go of shit. I'm not dropping a grudge. It's on site forever.
Yeah.
And he knows who he is.
Yeah.
I have to respect that. I can't not respect it's almost like when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and then was like, I chose the hardest path. It's like, well, they just won the championship, so
did you?
no, you didn't. You kind of chose the easiest one. If you acknowledge that and just were the villain, great. Like Stephon Diggs is just cool with being the villain now, I think.
Yeah.
But
Somebody's got to be the heel, right?
yep. But back to some fantasy stuff. What you said, with too many mouths to feed. I think that's what kind of shocked me the most. Is I was like, okay, Nico's out. I think things should click more.
Yeah.
Because it's just he loves Tank Dell. Stephon Diggs is not a shell of himself. And not quite what he was, but he's still a solid NFL player, for sure. Like, I mean, you have to give him that at this point.
Yeah,
and it just got a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like, things went downhill. He's only had one 20-point game in 6-point passing touchdowns, one 20-point game since Nico left. And the last 2 weeks have been, like, 12 and 5. But it's not looking good. And now he just lost Diggs. And I think the hope is Nico can come back week 10.
The thing that is worrisome for me is that in my brain, and I think anybody else's brain, you see Nico goes down and you're like, Tank Dell, wow, like, yeah, start him. He's going to do good. But Tank Dell's not really been doing that crazy good either. So I'm thinking, like, now with Stephon down, like, what, am I still starting Tank Dell? Like, what's going on with his offense? It's
right,
super
I mean, at some
questionable,
point,
so,
like, for fantasy purposes, the consolidation of targets has to happen for Tank Dell, right? And if it doesn't, it's like, okay, maybe he's not the guy we thought he was.
Yeah, like, are we going to John Mechie now? Like,
right, like Xavier Hutchinson, like, well, what's going on out here?
Yeah, so I wish I could give some advice, but honestly, don't listen to me about
There is
anything
one
for
hint
that.
of advice I can give people for the Texans.
Start Joe Mixon.
Yeah, well, that's the easy one. I was going to say, do not start or roster Dalton Schultz. He is the physically slowest human being that plays a skill position in the entire NFL. I mean, if you just watch him running his routes, that dude is like, it looks like I'm out there jogging against NFL defenses.
Dude, he's like the only guy I got on this Spudge League. Besides God, what am I supposed to do? I got to start him.
It's tough sledding right now with that guy. I mean, I was a Schultz fan coming from Dallas to Houston.
Yeah.
He looked good his first year there. They re-signed him. Like, there was no red flags in my opinion. It was all green flags for having a successful season, and it just hasn't gotten better.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing about Stroud. It might not help you for this year, but sophomore slumps is a real thing.
Yeah.
You got all these defensive coordinators got tape on you from last year.
Absolutely.
They know what your tendencies are. So this is a year for you to grow and learn how to combat some of that stuff.
Yeah, that's
and
for
maybe
sure.
next year is going to be better for all these guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
Except for Diggs.
I will say that this is good advice just to kind of heed and think about for next season. If, Jaden Daniels or Caleb start having a rough stretch, buy in on these guys who have shown upside and elite level playmaking. Like what Stroud showed down the back half plus playoffs last year, in my eyes, is enough for me to say, okay, he's going to be okay. Like he's going to figure it out.
To be fair, though, Caleb Williams isn't anywhere close to where C.J. Stroud was last year.
Right, no, I don't. I mean, you want to ask me, I don't think he's close to Jaden Daniels either, but...
Yeah, well, if Caleb Williams starts having a sophomore slump, I'm thinking, actually, he was buns. Like,
right. I think the talent's there.